And Charles Territo is Senior Communications Director for the Alliance of Automobile Manufacturers. He joins us live via phone from Los Angeles, where he's at the LA Auto Show this week, hosting an exhibit on auto innovation. Charles, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me today. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
So EPA puts off this decision on increasing the blend in the nation's fuel, says more testing is needed. You guys agree with that? The testing results so far do say that raising the amount of ethanol blended into gasoline is feasible for new cars, even that E15.
Well, I think that what the testing says is that more testing is needed. There are more than 245 million vehicles on the road, and so it's very difficult to judge from the results of two vehicles being tested over a very short number of miles what the impact will be. Cars today are warranted for sometimes up to 100,000 miles, even more. And so it's very important that we get this right, that we don't make a hasty decision that ends up really being bad for consumers, costly to the auto industry, and most importantly, causes problems for the future of biofuels in general.
But would it, if that number was raised to 15? I mean, Growth Energy wanted the blend to go up from 10 to 15. General Clark said there is no technically significant difference between blends of gasoline with 10% ethanol, 15% ethanol, and we're talking about newer cars, 2001 and beyond.
Well, a couple of things. One, if the testing shows that there is no adverse impacts, then we're all for the approval of mid-level use or mid-level blends of ethanol. As to the date, the 2001 date, I'm not sure what the significance of that date is, but whatever it is, I think that any waiver that's approved based on model year creates a tremendous opportunity for consumer confusion and ultimately misfueling. Are you going to have to check your owner's manual every time you go to the gas pump to see if your vehicle's old enough? And is that even scientifically accurate with regards to vehicles? All vehicles don't start over from scratch each year. Sometimes the vehicles from year to year, the only thing that changes are parts of the actual sheet metal, the way a vehicle looks. But the engine, the seals, all of that, the emissions control systems, those don't change. And so I think we have some questions about what the significance of the 2001 date is. At the end of the day, I think we need to put this into perspective. The word, this is not about ethanol or increased use of ethanol. This is about ensuring that we use fuels that are designed for the vehicles to be used in.
Right, and the big worry for automakers is that higher blends can do what? They're going to corrode the fuel systems of the cars and catalytic converters and be hazardous to drivers?
Absolutely. I mean, you could insert the word ketchup for ethanol. And if it's proven that a vehicle can run on ketchup without harming the vehicle, then we wouldn't have any problem with that. We offer more than 200 vehicles that get over 30 miles to the gallon, and more than 100 of them are alternative fuel automobiles. So we're encouraged. We think that we need to take the time to make sure that the fuel doesn't harm vehicles, and if that's the case, then I'm sure the floodgates will open.
But for now, the automakers are not warranting their engines for any higher blend. What's the ethanol industry doing to get you guys on their side?
Well, I think they're trying to say that their testing shows that ethanol doesn't that mid-level blends don't harmfully impact vehicles. We think that it's important to make sure that the testing is completed by the Department of Energy before this decision is made. It's too important. With the 245 million vehicles on the road that aren't designed to run on blends of more than 10% ethanol, they could be damaged by this. And if that's the case, it could do irreparable harm to not only ethanol, but all biofuels.
So what's your best guess at how this testing is going to turn out? Do you think E15 is probably on its way?
I'm not sure. I think that if the testing, the testing thus far has been inconclusive. In some vehicles, I believe it showed no damage or harm. In other vehicles, it did show some harm to the catalysts and even the fuel cells. And how a vehicle responds over 500 miles really doesn't give you a good idea of what will happen after 75,000 miles or 80,000 miles. And so, I think that the best thing right now is to do what the EPA did, and that's to delay the decision until there's adequate testing and make sure that we make decisions based on sound science, not political expediency.
So if the testing does happen to show, there is damage to vehicles at higher blends, what happens next? Is it possible that it's not less ethanol use, but rather changes required in vehicles?
Well, that remains to be seen. I think that there are probably a number of things that can happen. I mean, that while there have been other occasions where regulations have been delayed because they're not technologically feasible. I think if you look back to the digital TV switch, Congress set a date for that switch to be made, and that date was changed several times because it wasn't technologically feasible. Likewise, I don't believe that Congress wants to be in a position of putting millions of vehicles in jeopardy because of a rush to improve or to increase the use of biofuels.
All right. Well, looks like both sides are encouraged by this delay. What's the coolest thing happening out there at the auto show, Charles?
Well, right now I'm looking at a brand new Chevy Volt, and I'm actually getting ready to take a ride in it.
And that's the big unveiling tomorrow.
So that's pretty exciting. There are a number of great vehicles out here. The Volt's one of them. There's a little test course set up here right off of Olive and 11th. Right by the convention center, and after I get off the phone with you, I'm going to jump in line and go for a ride.
Excellent. Go have fun. We'll hear more about it tomorrow. Charles Territo, Alliance of Auto Manufacturers, thank you.